Okay, welcome to another episode of This Week in Search. Today is the 20th of November. We are going to recap the last couple of weeks of information about search marketing, search engines, and the wonderful world of Google. So today, one of the biggest things that came out, well, actually it came out a month ago, but reality was it really got released today officially, was the user guide for manually reviewing sites by Google. It's their Q&A document, 160 pages worth of detail about how they manually score pages. Now, what's interesting about this, it gives us an indication of what they look for when they decide whether a site's worthy of being in the search criteria for what they call sort of over here on one side, complete nothing to important. And they scale it based on a couple of different criteria. And part of that will be in the link to this video that you'll see at the bottom, where we'll have a link to this document. But the crazy thing about this is that it's actually been leaked several times over the years, and this is the first time that Google sort of officially endorsed it. So whether the material's watered down or not is another sort of indication of they want people to kind of say that they're playing fair. I reasonably think that this information is already known. I mean, most of it's pretty basic stuff, and even if you look at it, kind of makes sense. I mean, anybody who's a user of this quality guide who's been trained to see a site, whether it's scammy or if it's porn or if it's something just not worthy, it's kind of indicating some of that in this document. But the reality is that we're all facing the same equation, which is that this doesn't really have to do with today's search metrics. This is a manual review. And so although the detail is important and there are things you can glean off of it, what's more interesting is the things that are happening in real time as opposed to someone who's looking at a document to make a decision based off of some criteria. The real-time stuff, which is interesting, also relates to something that happened over the last 36 hours. But a lot of up and down in search rankings over the last 36 hours. We looked at our client deck and we've seen that there's been some significant changes in some of the areas that, let's just say, were problem areas for clients in the past that we had fixed and now seem to have reverted back. This is an indication that there may be some testing on the Penguin. A lot of people have surmised that the real-time Penguin that's being released, that's the SEO sort of equivalent of a gigantic earthquake, is coming soon. In fact, it's been rumored within 2 weeks. Usually it's announced before Black Friday or Cyber Monday so that Google can make a little cash because of misplaced SEO results. So people have to put more money into pay-per-click. And we probably will see something happen soon, although there's been indications from Gary at Google that the Penguin algorithm is not ready for prime time. I'm not so sure, given the fact that the last 36 hours have indicated they're testing it out, and that I wouldn't be surprised if something was released very quickly in order to make up for the delta between now and, of course, our famous Cyber Monday, when we'd see the majority of the income of people being raised from the advent of 1 billion people going online to buying things off of Amazon and whatever e-commerce store they decide to purchase. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see an update very quickly, even over this weekend, where we start to see a real-time Penguin that was supposed to be announced weeks ago actually transpire. So one of the very, very next things that's happening, especially for 2016, is we'll have to watch this market, although it's in sort of a testing format, is the realization that apps are now being much more part of search, so especially mobile, where Google's introduced some very interesting app-related indexing. So if an app is out there and you're using an app, Google's actually allowing Android the ability to have streaming application indexing coming in. What that means, for all of you surfers, is that they're looking at the fact of results coming back for a query to go into an app and then stream the data from an app. That means that the search results aren't coming up organically, but the app's organic search results are coming up. So apps within the search results being streamed onto a phone. This is very interesting because this kind of impacts an entire thought process of how results will be displayed. And especially in 2016, we see the kind of demonstration that apps are starting to become more and more prevalent in search results. And as apps become indexed in search results, and then the apps have got a stream that comes out as a search result, we're starting to do SEO on apps. It is an indication that things are changing dramatically for the search field as we move forward into the next year. Another interesting thing that was said out of one of the recent dialogues with the folks at Google was to stay consistent. So really what we've talked about here is consistency of your site delivering content value and appropriate value to the end user. So what we've come to a conclusion is that Google likes simplicity of seeing a signal being produced from a website. And I guess you could kind of surmise, again, that if you have more signals, you should have a better outlay in the SERPs, or in the search results. So we would suggest to consistently do content at an interval that seems to be your predominant, let's just say, swing of consistency. And even if you could do more consistent content and more consistent good content, you're going to have a better and better result in the search engine. This is coming from Google directly, even though we've mentioned this in several episodes. Last thing to talk about, which I think is kind of cool, is live snippets or live schema, live blog. So if you put up some content that's, especially this would result to more of a feel for maybe sports or entertainment, but live content. So there's a schema markup, a markup that you can put inside your blog to say, hey, this is live material. So if you put up a live video like we're doing right now, it would be marked up as a live piece of content that would go up immediately. So we could have this piece of content talking about the Google algorithm update now showing as a live feed, and that this was a live event coming up. So really kind of cool that you can now be placed on top of the search results for a live event. Things are changing. We'll see you in the next episode.